Arab Spring has brought on new governments in both Libya and Egypt. It has also fostered a civil war in Syria and violence across the region, but has been little noted in Saudi Arabia. However, that does not mean there haven't been protests and backlash. One notable case involves 26-year-old Shiite Khalid al-Labad. The Saudi government, headed by King Abdullah, favors the minority Sunni group in just about every aspect of life. But now, Shiite protesters have begun demanding the release of political prisoners and are calling for an end to the preferential treatment that has benefited the Sunnis. The government's response has been one to deny the legitimacy of both the protesters and their claims. It has also accused them of being Hezbollah members working in support of the country's biggest foe, Iran. Both sides accuse the other of lying. The government has been busy attempting to subdue the desire for a Saudi Spring revolution by investing in building projects and relaxing mortgage rules. Both types of initiatives have brought on financial benefit that Shiites can enjoy, but this has not been quite enough to appease all the protesters, many of whom continue to demand more equity in other areas of life. The government issued warrants for the arrests of several of the most vocal, including Khalid al-Labad. Police eventually found him on a public street on September 26. Some claim that the encounter between the wanted man and the police turned violent, and the police were forced to shoot the suspect as well as two teenagers who were with him. Others tell a totally different story. According to them, the three men were summarily shot while they were sitting on plastic chairs in front of their house. Schisms are nothing new in the Episcopal Church or its parent organization, the Worldwide Anglican Communion. The Church of England, as it is also known, split twice from the Roman Catholic Church. The first break in 1534 was followed by a brief reconciliation, which was terminated for good in 1558. During the 17th century, issues arose whether Puritan or Protestant visions for the Church should determine doctrine. More recently, the issues of gay marriage and the role of women in the clergy has led to further fracturing, including the recent impasse in selecting a new archbishop for the Church's central seat in Canterbury. Meanwhile, in the U.S., recent issues have been causing frictions for half a decade and may have finally resulted in an irreconcilable rift between the Episcopal Church of America and the Diocese of South Carolina. This came to a head after an 18-member disciplinary board for bishops found Bishop Mark Lawrence guilty of abandoning the Episcopal Church and renouncing its rules. Consequently, the diocese passed a line-in-the-sand resolution stating their intention to immediately secede should the Episcopal Church discipline, impair, restrict, place on administrative leave, charge, derecognize, or otherwise inhibit the diocese or its leaders. The split is more than symbolic, as it involves necessarily land claims and other issues of property and deeds. Reminiscent of the Taliban's destruction of Buddhist statues in Afghanistan, which ultimately drew the international community's attention and ire in 2001, al-Qaeda-linked revolutionary groups have been destroying Sufi shrines and mausoleums in the Timbuktu region of Mali. Sufism, which brought Islam to sub-Saharan Africa, is more mystical and interpretive than most mainstream Islam in the African nation. The Vandals, mostly ethnic Tuareg rebels and members of an al-Qaeda-linked group called Aznar Dine, were supported by men brandishing axes and Kalashnikov rifles. Sufi witnesses said the men scolded them afterward for idolatry and worshipping saints. If the Islamists continue in this way, there will be nothing left of Timbuktu's sacred heritage that made us famous all over the world, said Osman Hali, former mayor of Timbuktu. A unanimously passed UN Security Council resolution calling for the retaking of the region from al-Qaeda-linked rebels gives regional leaders until November 19th to provide plans for an international military intervention. Canadian Bill 13 is an anti-bullying law which protects human rights and encourages acceptance and tolerance. It was with this law in mind that Canada's educational minister, Lauren Broughton, made it clear that Catholic schools should not teach that abortion is a sin. At a recent press conference, Broughton said, "We do not allow, and we are very clear with the passage of Bill 13, that Catholic teachings cannot be taught in our schools that violate human rights and which brings a lack of acceptance and participation in schools." Catholic educators, as you may have guessed, are not too happy about the ruling, as it requires schools to allow students to rename anti-homophobia clubs and call them gay-straight alliances. Catholics claim the new laws are unconstitutional and against their rights of religious freedom.